Good evening, Texas Longhorn fans, and welcome into this Week 13 update for your Texas Longhorns. I'm Garrett Green, bringing you all the information, wrapping up the end of this Texas football season, and it did not end according to plan. The Texas A&M Aggies come into Austin and win 24-17. Now, this was a game that had a lot on the line. All A&M had to do was win, and they get a share of the Big 12 South title, with Oklahoma beating Oklahoma State, possibly looking for that spot in the Big 12 championship game. And with Texas, a lot more was on the line this year than usual, as the Longhorns were sitting at 5-6 and needed this win to become bowl eligible. Now, the Horns strike first on a 31-yard touchdown pass from Garrett Gilbert to Marquise Goodwin, and the Horns luck out in the second quarter, get the ball inside of the Texas A&M 20, start in the red zone on a fumbled punt, and are on the doorstep there at the Texas A&M 8-yard line, 8 yards away from the end zone. And when Garrett Gilbert goes to hand the ball off to Cody Johnson out of the shotgun, it is fumbled, and Texas A&M recovers. Now, this would generally not be as big of a deal, but instead of having a 14-0 or a 10-0 lead at that point, Cyrus Gray, 2 plays later, rips off an 84-yard touchdown run that puts Texas A&M into a tie with the Longhorns at 7-7. So you see where this could be a giant momentum swing. And Texas A&M, that would be their only score of the second quarter. But in the second half, on the opening drive, Garrett Gilbert throws an interception, and A&M seizes it from there and scores 10 straight points, going up 17-7. Now, Gilbert would score a 1-yard touchdown run, but very shortly after that, Cyrus Gray rips off a 48-yard touchdown run, swinging momentum back Texas A&M's way. The Horns have a couple of trips inside of the red zone. The fourth one is with about 10 minutes left in the game. They are forced to settle for a field goal. This brings the score to 24-17, Texas A&M over Texas. Now, the Horns, again, get an opportunity in the red zone. They are on the Texas A&M 12-yard line with 3:15 left in the game, and Garrett Gilbert throws his second interception of the game, his 17th of the year, and the Texas A&M Aggies are able to run the clock out and beat the Texas Longhorns by that final score of 24-17. And with this loss, the Longhorns are not bowl eligible for the first time since their losing season back in 1998. We remember that as the year before Coach Brown got here. This is also the first year that Mac Brown has been here that he has not had a 10-win team, and obviously his first losing season at Texas, so a difficult one to swallow. And I really wanted to examine why the Horns had such a rough year this year and break it down a little bit statistically. You can look at things from a intangible standpoint, effort, different things, but there are a couple of stats that back up why this year was such a difficult year for the Longhorns. Now, if you wanted to compare Garrett Gilbert's sophomore year to Colt McCoy's sophomore year of 2007, that would be one season that could be defined as a bit of a struggle for Texas football fans. In his sophomore year, Colt McCoy did throw one more interception than Garrett Gilbert. He had 18 interceptions. Gilbert only had 17 this year. However, the big difference, Colt McCoy threw 22 touchdown passes in his sophomore year. Garrett Gilbert this year only had 10 touchdown passes. Now, of course, Garrett did get it done with his legs a little bit more, but whenever you talk about down in the red zone, that is one of the areas the Horns struggled with this year. We'll continue comparing between Colt McCoy's sophomore year in 2007 and Garrett Gilbert's sophomore year, and this is the most interesting statistic that I was able to find, and it is red zone percentage. In 2007, the Texas Longhorns had 52 attempts inside of the red zone. Of those 52 attempts, they scored 44 times. That is an 84.62% scoring percentage. However, of those 44 scores, 35 of those were touchdowns. That's a 67.31% conversion to touchdowns when you are inside of the red zone. Compare that to this year. The Texas Longhorns again had 52 attempts. They were able to convert 41 times. That is only 3 less than they did in 2007. However, of those 41 scores, only 23 of them were touchdowns. That is a meager 44.23%. That is a difference between 2 out of every 3 times that the Horns were in the red zone in 2007. They would score a touchdown. To now less than half of the time that the Horns were in the red zone, they would not score a touchdown this year. And it's also a staggering difference as what we were used to seeing last year, as in 2009 the Texas Longhorns had 58 red zone attempts. They were able to score 54 times. That is a 93.1% conversion inside of the red zone, and of those 54 scores, 40 of them were touchdowns. That was 68.97%, slightly higher than 2007. But again, about 2 out of every 3 times the Horns were in the red zone, they would score touchdowns. So this was a sign of this Texas team not being able to finish when they got close to the red zone. This will be something that I am sure Mack Brown will work on in the offseason, and that was on the offensive side of the ball. On the defensive side of the ball, it was really simple. The defense gave up far too many big plays this year. We saw 2 of them this week against Texas A&M. It was something that we saw against UCLA, against Iowa State, against OU, and against Kansas State. These were all very tough losses, and the Longhorns finished their season losing 7 out of their last 9 games, and they will not be going to a bowl more than likely. So, a rough year for the Texas Longhorns. Mack Brown will be reevaluating his staff. We will see what changes will come, but we will look forward to next year, as I am certain that Garrett Gilbert and Mack Brown will come back with a fire under their bellies to make sure that this does not happen again. Expect a great season out of the Texas Longhorns next year. Until then, keep your heads high and your horns up, Austin. I'm Garrett Green. Have a good evening, and hook 'em horns.